Bulgaria is located in southeastern Europe where it borders the Black Sea, Romania, and Turkey. The flag is split into three colors. It is white to stand for peace, love, and freedom, green to emphasize their admiration for their agricultural wealth, and red for its prized independence and military courage.
Bulgaria has a very long and complex history when it comes to how the nation developed its political structure. In 1878, Bulgaria gained its independence from the Ottoman Empire after spending nearly 500 years under its regime. What followed was a complex transition of power as the country searched for a proper political system. After World War II, it was ruled as a Soviet-led socialist state and transitioned into a communist-ruled nation in 1989. By 2007, the nation was able to overrule the communist government and was declared a democratic republic society, overseen by a president, vice president, and prime minister, in addition to three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The legal system associated with this republic is formed around the concept of civil law. Governed by the judicial branch, the civil law court is structured so that the Supreme Judicial Council appoints judges to serve on the Supreme Court of Cassation and Supreme Administrative Court, and are designed to rule cases where a second ruling beyond the constitutional courts is needed. The country's transition into a democratic republic has not only bettered their government, but also the atmosphere of the country, as displayed in the country's demographic.
The general ethnicity of Bulgaria's population identify themselves as Bulgarian, but there is also a strong presence of citizens who identify as Turkish or Romanian. This mix of culture and ethnicity is suppressed in Bulgaria, as those who identify as Bulgarian look down on those who speak in their native tongue or vary in religion. Their population of just over 7 million mainly resides in urban areas like the capital, Sofia, that accounts for over 1 million of the country's total population. Residents of these populated cities rely on on-demand transportation as it is not required of them to own a vehicle, but are forced to rely on schedules of taxi drivers rather than a person's personal needs. If Bulgaria incorporated Uber services into its cities, it would provide citizens with a quick and reliable service whenever he or she needed on their own time. Bulgaria recently became a part of an open economy European Union in 2007. While it continues to prove a steady growth in its economic position, it remains amongst the members with the lowest per capita income, generating only $20,400 and a $52.39 billion in gross domestic product, where it experienced a 3.4% growth rate. The country's low economic standing is another reason we believe that Uber should be incorporated into the market in order to boost the economy through transactions and opportunities of labor. Bulgarian currency used to operate on the leva currency system, where roughly one leva equaled 1.768 US dollars. Since 2007, they committed to switching currency to the euro upon joining the European Union to stay consistent with other member nations.
Bulgaria relies heavily on imports for daily operations. Russia, for example, is the country's main supplier of energy imports. In contrast, there is a strong foreign demand for its exports, which make its growth sensitive to external market conditions. Its main sectors of profit are generated through agriculture, industry, and services, but still fail to withstand debts owed to the country itself.
The privately held company was established by co-founders Garrett Camp and Travis Kalanick when they struggled to find a cab on a snowy night in Paris. They discovered a demand for on-demand transportation or other services in order to fit individual wants and needs of the consumers. Camp and Kalanick wanted to create a way for users to request services based on their own schedules as opposed to the schedules of taxicab drivers as reflected in their mission statement, to provide transportation as reliable as water, everywhere, to everyone.
Uber is easily identified as a multinational business because it is a firm that owns business operations in more than one country. Headquartered in San Francisco, California, this corporation quickly became a global name, operating in 84 countries and over 700 cities worldwide. Its primary target market is women and men aged 16 to 24 and tailored to the needs of all incomes based on their diverse service options.
A corporation's working capital reflects the results of a company's activities such as managerial duties, collection of revenue, and payments to investors and shareholders, and whether such activities remain under the cost of a company's assets and other accounts of inventory. The working capital of Uber Technological Inc. is in positive standing as it remains its relatively formidable reputation with the general public and users. With such an outstanding reputation in the general public, Uber carries this reputation into the professional world. There are several different branches of employment at Uber. Individuals can apply for positions in market research, crisis management operations, brand ambassadors, and of course as an Uber driver. In the most recent poll, Uber claimed to have employed 6,700 employees, excluding drivers, and LinkedIn projected over 21,000 employees associated with Uber, drivers included. Uber was the first major competitor of traditional taxicab services. While there are now other competitors in the market, Uber excels above the rest and would provide Bulgarian citizens with an efficient alternative to the typical taxi.
As an American-based company, Uber's major competitors are Lyft and Curb, which operate primarily in the U.S., as well as Grab, which operates in Southeast Asia, and DiDi Chuxing, which has been deemed the Uber of China. Uber is a privately traded company, so it has not yet been made available for trading in the public market. However, its valuation implies that it will be well represented in the stock market once the company marks the transition to a publicly listed company. Uber does not only show advantages amongst competitors economically, but also through the treatment of their employees and dedication to its users.
The company devotes a great amount of its time and resources to service quality. They take 5 main keys of service quality into consideration when innovating and developing products: reliability, responsiveness, assurance, empathy, and tangibles. Reliability to Uber refers to their reliable pickup service by providing location tracking to the riders, which allows them to see exactly where their driver is through maps. Responsiveness is their purpose as it encourages faster and more efficient drivers to get to the consumers in a time-sensitive manner. Assurance is an accountability booster to ensure that the company's hires are performing to a designated set of standards through ratings from the riders. The empathy component refers to the company's knowledge of the rider, their wants and needs, while tangibles offer physical evidence that the service was completed correctly. Uber uses these factors to stand above their competitors and ensures that they are exceeding in every category.
In addition to these defining values, the company places safety above all else. The company has a defined set of requirements that potential drivers must acquire prior to employment consideration. The applicant must be old enough to drive under the laws imposed by a given country and must demonstrate experience and a safe driving record. Applicants must also complete an extensive background check to ensure the safety of passengers. In addition to the safety and accountability of the drivers themselves, the driver's vehicle must also pass a set of standards to guarantee the comfort and safe travel of Uber users. The biggest obstacle Uber will face when attempting to enter the Bulgarian market is how to encourage the Bulgarian government of why they should lift the ban against their corporation.
In December 2014, Uber and its ride-sharing services found its way into the Bulgarian market. There was a long history of poor service and confusion of work assignment within the taxi sector of Bulgaria, so consumers begged for an alternative. The company thrived in such an urban-based environment where residents were always in need of quick, reliable transportation. It was especially popular to the key demographic within the urban areas like Sofia, smartphone-reliant men and women aged 20 to 35 years old. The company and its services became so popular, in fact, that it began to raise questions from the competition. Only 3 months into the introduction to Bulgaria, the Union Taxi announced its plan to protest against Uber's activity in Sofia. The largest union of taxicab drivers believed that Uber was practicing unfair competition methods and feared that the company would soon become a monopoly in heavily populated cities. Union Taxi threatened to block roads and strike should the government not put an end to the unconventional acts of Uber. The Commission for the Protection of Competition ruled that Bulgaria place a ban against Uber and its services to deter any additional damage to the Union Taxi drivers or the Bulgarian economy as a result of the strike.
The defining reason behind the initial ban of Uber was the undercut prices and implied attempt at monopolization. However, since Uber has already made this mistake, the company will be able to correct its wrongs and impose a better pricing strategy that maintains fair competition amongst competitors. Due to Bulgaria's economic standing and relatively low GDP, it is very elastic, wherein supply and demand of products are affected greatly by an even minor change in price. Uber can acknowledge this and lower its fares for consumers while offering driver-based employees benefits to compensate for these fluctuations in price.
If given an opportunity, Uber will also be willing to compromise to better fit the regulations established in Bulgaria. For example, taxicab drivers in Bulgaria are required to obtain a license through the automobile agency, so Uber can require that of its drivers within the region as well. This will improve safety as well as standardize the abilities of licensed ride-sharing drivers. As a part of this, Uber will continue to conduct background checks on every driver applicant to ensure the safety and credibility of each employee. If the Bulgarian government agrees to lift the ban and allows Uber to re-enter the Bulgarian market, Uber should practice the following strategies of market: price, promotion, and competition.